what's the difference between that and a house? And houses were much cheaper in Columbus back then. And so I actually had enough money saved up to flip a house. And I did. And I flipped 3 houses before I got scared. And when I say scared, it was I started to have a lot of money in the bank. It was like, holy moly, I'm 22 at the time. What do I do with all this money? And I bought rentals. And then I realized how much I like having mailbox money, where every single month, in theory, it comes in. And so I continued on that trajectory. And I flip houses, if it doesn't make sense as a rental, but it's a good deal, I'll flip it. But primarily, I am a long-term hold investor.
Yeah. So you're working, HR, you're building up the rental portfolio. That's, when we were talking off camera, right? I always say, I believe the past is always, there's always something from the past that translates into, and it's the flipping cars, right? Like, that's a skill, like like you said, if you can flip one thing and you understand the as is value today, and if you can do X, Y, and Z to get it to here, then it's just business and math and numbers. But I want to get into, you decide, you make the decision in 2018 to go to real estate school, get licensed. That conversation with the parents, right? When you made the decision to leave corporate America to go into, 100% commission-based industry.
Yep.
I'm always curious. Supporters, doubters, did you have people more in your corner? Do you have people kind of like some people don't tell you the doubters, to your face, but kind of what was that like? What were those conversations like?
Yeah, no, that actually gave me like chills just thinking about it. Cause I remember, 2, I want to say like defining conversations in my father career, whatever you call that. First time was when I decided to flip my first house, and I was a little short. So I actually had to loan money from my dad's credit card. Again, my parents don't have a ton of money, and my dad had a credit card, and he's like, hey, it's got a $25,000 limit on it. Like, if you pay all the interest, you can leverage it, I guess. And he's like, I think you're crazy. You're 21 years old. You don't know what the hell you're doing when it comes to putting in floors and painting a house and all this stuff. And he's like, but I trust you. And so I remember when I sold that house and I paid him back, and he's like, you did it. I'm proud of you. And so it was like this, this kind of win in my column to say like, hey, like I'm not totally clueless on what I'm doing. So as my rental business grew, my parents saw it, right? They knew I had rentals, and I quit my job with around 20 rentals. I didn't have a ton at that time. It was just 3 years ago. I didn't have a ton of rentals, but I had enough that like I wasn't quitting my job with nothing like some people do, which I just have mad respect for, because I at least had like enough money to pay my bills. It was close, hence becoming a realtor. But I was like, hey, if I have to eat ramen for like a week of the month, like I will.
Yeah.
But I will say my parents thought I was nuts for quitting my job. So they thought I was a little like off when I flipped my first house, but they thought they did not fully support me quitting my job. And I was 28 years old. I was a grown man. I was engaged, and of course I want my parents' support. And I don't want to say they didn't support me, but they thought I was nuts.
Sure.
I made great money at DSW. I had what they always wanted me to achieve, right? I had the college degree. I owned my own personal home. I owned a car. I had, a fiance. I had what we all think is the American dream. And they knew that, I wasn't like completely sold on living the rest of my life in HR and just picking up a rental or two every year. And so when I told them I was quitting, I think like any parent, they're just concerned. I mean, I'm still only 28, so it's not like I was a 50-year-old person at the time.
Yeah.
And, my dad is just like, hey, I trust you, but why don't you give it another year? And I'm just thinking, if I say that, I'm going to say the same thing next year. Like at some point, it's like ripping a Band-Aid off. I have to do it. And I knew that my fiance and I wanted to, kind of have kids. I mean, I'm 28, so I gotta have them at some point. And so I'm like, I feel like if I find out that, that she's pregnant in a year from now, then I'll be too afraid to quit. And so there's no better time to do it than now. And I walked into my boss's office and I told him that I was thinking about it. And I said, can I have the weekend to think about it? And he said, if you come back in, this was a Friday, so if you come back in on Monday and you tell me that you want to stay, I'm going to fire you. And I was like, what? And he's like, I'm serious. He goes, I know where your heart is. And he's like, I don't want somebody on my team that isn't all in. He said, you are, basically like you're destined to do real estate. And he's like, I've watched you grow over the last few years, and you need to make this choice. And I told my dad about that. I told him that weekend, I was like, hey, I talked to my boss yesterday. And basically, I'm leaving. Like, like it or not, he's either firing me or I'm quitting. And I said, you got to. I actually referenced the flip I did like 9 years before that. So you just got to trust me, man.
Yeah.
And it's worked out really well. So my parents are, God, they're my biggest. My wife, of course, but my parents, man, they're my biggest fans. They're like any parent. They comment weird stuff on all my Facebook posts. And they always sign it with "Love Mom" or "Love Dad." It's like, yeah, I know who you are. You're posting from your account, but
Yeah.
They're very, very proud of me today. And man, I wouldn't be here without them. I really mean that.
And I think they saw your work ethic too, right? They saw even over the years, even going back to teenage years, high school years, that you were willing to put in the work. That's what the one thing about real estate, and it really can apply to entrepreneurship is I tell people new agents that join our team, what you're going to put into this is what you're going to get out of it.
Yep.
And sometimes majority of that goes into one ear and out the other, and they don't, like, oh yeah. Oh, I get it. And then you see the work ethic behind it, whether they're showing up every single day, whether they're working longer hours, whatever the case may be. And, I tell anyone, if you have the work ethic, if you can have the self-drive and motivation, real estate can be a very beautiful thing for you.
Yep.
But if you're inconsistent, if you don't want to work, if you don't want, and I'm not out here saying you got to work 12 hours a day, because I don't think you have to work 12 hours a day, but if you put in the time and you put in the effort and you put in the consistency, you can accomplish whatever you want to accomplish in this business.
John, there is nothing in this world that you could say I would agree with more. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's like anything, right? You want to have a six-pack, go to the gym every day. If you, obviously I'm far off from that, but I'd say like
we have the other six-pack, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Dad bod. So, but man, I'll tell you what, the difference between the people who are successful and the ones that aren't in anything in life, but obviously with our real estate focus, are the ones who do the work and the ones who don't. And so, just a quick story. I used to be on a team and a team at a different brokerage. And there was an agent who was brand new. They had just relocated here from a different state, and they knew nobody in Columbus. And this person came into the office. I'm not a big office guy, right? Like I'm sitting in my bathroom right now, pretty much. It's my mud room. And I'm not a big office guy, but this person came in every single day to the office, 8 to 5, was cold calling people, picking up every single lead, showing $20,000 houses to people. And I'll never forget watching him do that. And he's a sizable agent now. This was just 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And he came here with like literally nothing, as far as a real estate agent goes. And, this guy, he put in the work. I've always admired that about him, is that, while I have a sphere here, he had no sphere. Right. And, a lot of people, when they leave for real estate, they have their old coworkers that they used to work with. And so he had none of that. Yeah. And this guy came in every freaking day, man. If I went in on a Thursday at 2 p.m., he's there. He's calling random people. He's doing every open house opportunity. He's doing everything it takes, that what we learn about is what takes success. And this guy does very, very well now. And I'm super proud of him. Just as, he's a friend as well. But he is who I think of when I think of like the grind that real estate takes. My grind has been 10 years.
Yeah.
This guy he didn't have 10 years. He didn't have the luxury that I had, right, of having a salary. And he came here and he had no choice but to be successful. Yep. And I see it all the time, man. I see people who, everybody wants to be in real estate because they think that there's this, this implied freedom that you get with real estate's free. Let me tell you, man, I look at my calendar in a day. I'm not free. I am more free. I am more free to make my own choices. But
right,
I've yet to meet a person that's successful in real estate that just has this total freedom, know? And I feel like when people get in real estate because they want the flexibility and the freedom, real estate's a grind, man.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to do it, it's going to be very tough to be successful. Doesn't mean you won't be, but it's tough,
Right.
and it's not for everybody. I think there's a lot of people who, they get sucked into this allure of freedom and I'll be my own boss and stuff. Hey, being your own boss is hard, man. You have to hold yourself accountable. And so that person I think of all the time, man, and just like what he did to get to that level of success. And he is like the model of grinding in real estate. And there's a ton of respect there for that.
Yeah. I mean, I always say people get into the business, either they want more money, they want more time, or they want more freedom. They want some flexibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you want more money, typically you're not really having the freedom or the flexibility. You're in your, like you just said, I'm in my calendar, right? Look at my calendar, right?
Yeah.
If you want more freedom, well, typically you're probably not making money, right?
That's exactly